Rain, rain, go away. Come back another day. I have a roof, so when I rented this place, frankly, I thought it would be dry, and I'd be like, how cool. As long as it's not real windy, even it's raining, and I love doing this. I could sit out here and do readings in the rain, you know. It's a rainy season, but rain is fucking beautiful here, guys. Most of the time, you're not in it, you know. It's not like a cold rain, it's like a summer rain. I mean, in the winter, a little chilly, but it doesn't really rain much in the winter. Rains now, it's not really cold yet. So I hate to tell you guys, if you're up north, because, yeah, I mean, it's like it might go to 70. I don't know, I'm a little bit chilly right now, sitting here. Kind of want to put my jacket on. But if you just came down here from Detroit or something, you'd be thinking like, oh my God, you'd be running around naked going woot woot, you know, it's like summer. Now at the same time, the Mexicans next to you would be in sweat pants and a jacket, you know. And me too, probably, because, you know, once you get used to it, it's 69 is not a good thing anymore. So what I wanted to talk about was one time at band camp, and I did drugs and LSD, but this was back in like, when would this have been? 1980 was 20 years, so this meant circa 1977. And I, you know, back then they had amazing hash. It was really straight from like Afghanistan, just bring it here. And the pot was from Mexico, basically, and you know, ostensibly Colombia. You had your gold and your red bud, and it was just really good. But also, they had LSD, which is the only artificial thing that I care to take, because Albert Hoffman was a mad genius. He nailed it. Also, LSD, it's a lot like, you know, many other tryptamine hallucinogens, so it's just a tweak. And anyway, for me, mushrooms are quote unquote better, more organic, more whole. And the LSD experience is typically, for me anyway, more of a mental experience. With magic mushrooms, it's more of a body experience, you know. But I recall once, you know, I was like 17, I think, and I worked full time and went to school. And on the weekend, you know, we'd go and hike all day for like 20 miles in the mountains. We had our LSD, and we'd make camp towards evening and gather up firewood, build a fireplace if there wasn't one there. Sometimes we'd be deep in the wilderness. I mean, literally it could be 20 miles from the nearest road. And maybe three of us, four of us, depends. You know, we drive up there. It's like a 2-hour drive from Washington, D.C., where I lived. And then once everything was set and we were cool, wouldn't want to eat dinner, because one thing I learned early: don't eat before you trip. That's just trouble. In fact, that's why with later my mushrooms experience in 2007, it was always on an empty stomach, first thing in the morning or early in the morning. Maybe not first thing, but you know, 9-10 o'clock in the morning, I'd be eating 5 grams of mushrooms on an empty stomach. Drink some coffee though, smoke a little pot. Weed loves mushrooms. Mushrooms love weed. You know, they're allies. Alcohol, no, not for either one of them. So there's that. So anyway, finally we dropped some acid, and back then I gotta think it's pretty good acid. It's bladder acid, and so hell's gonna blow my nose. Excuse me. Goddamn allergies. And so, you know, we take our bladder acid. It's kind of dark and just getting dark, and you really see the fires going good. And we're all sitting around, like just 4 of us, and you know, it starts coming on, and I'm just tripping balls. And I'd say, man, I've been working all night. I hadn't slept in literally like days. You can't really sleep when you're on this, right? So I said, I'm just gonna go to the tent and lay down. And they're like, the one guy was like, yeah, you're a pussy, you know. Can't count on young guys to exactly be emotionally support dogs. So I said, fuck them, man. I went in the tent and laid down. And a few minutes later, it was as if I were standing up, and I was definitely laying down. I had this vision, and in front of me was this woman. coming towards me with their hand out like this, and she had on a black gloves, and this beautiful black jacket, like a expensive looking, like a raincoat with a liner maybe, and she had these huge Jackie O sunglasses and a scarf around her, and you literally couldn't see any of her flesh. I couldn't see any of her flesh, and I was just fixated on this woman reaching out to me, man. And I'm like, wow, what the? She's walking towards me with her hand out, and I just find myself walking towards her and starting to put my hand out, and I'm looking at her hand in this glove, and I'm looking at her, and I'm realizing right there in this, whatever it is, a vision, a hallucination, I'm realizing there's no skin to be seen on this woman. It's completely covered up, and yet she's reaching out to me and wants to touch me with her gloved hands. And it hit me right there that was my mother, and that vision to this day more succinctly describes the emotional, spiritual kind of connection that my mother and I had. I think better than anything else. I dare say I'm probably the one human being possibly in the world. She had a lover once that, I don't know what would have went down. She might have died in a plane crash, the one great love of her life. But so I'm gonna say, I'm up there with one of the few people she probably really opened up to in life. I mean, she'd tell me everything. But I began to realize that this was my mother, and our fingers were just a few inches apart when I kind of dawned on, because I'm just like, I just knew. I was like, what's going on? This is something. This is huge. What the fuck? And I'm just drawn into it, And just as we touch hands, I just come out of it. And I sit up literally in a tent in the dark now. There's a fire outside. You kind of see a light through the tent wall, like nylon walls, a few feet away. Really, we're pretty close to the fire. Not too close. No, we weren't. We were a good feet away. We were a good ways away. You could see that fire out there. I could hear like voices. And I was sitting up on my hands like this, kind of looking around like I snapped like awake or something. I don't know what but it wasn't like a dream. I'll tell you that. It wasn't like a dream at all. It seemed just as real as this, as any reality. I just sat there for a while because I knew like those guys are not really going to understand. And I was kind of trying to process what this was. At that point in my life, I was already in therapy. I was a 17-year-old. I went in, paid for my own. Didn't even consult my mom. When she had insurance, she gave me the number. Went in, boom, paid it down. It was like some kind of co-payment. I had a job, I just paid it, and I got it started early. And I was telling my friend the other day, it didn't cure me or anything, but I think it helped me a lot. Therapy, my God, it's maybe the person I am today, for better or worse. And you got to think for better. You got to love yourself. So then once I love myself, I realized, like, how can I really look back with any regret, on anything that happened, Because if it didn't happen that way, then I wouldn't be here right now. And I'm really happy to be here right now. So, thank you. Gracias a Dios, I say, here in Mexico. I remember writing about that experience and even submitting it in college. And when there was a place, it was fiction. I was taking a fiction writing class. There's a place where they wanted kind of like autobiography. So I said, all right, bitch, I'll give you 9. They were very cool about it back then. It was weird. Even the teacher's a little bit older fella and very conservative looking and acting, really. I mean, it was just like it was the most normal thing. And she says, this is your biography? Yes. That was very interesting. Yeah, just drop a tab acid out as far away in the wilderness as you can walk from any road or a human construct. That was basically what we did. And sometimes we'd go on multiple day trips, and we wouldn't even drop the acid till like the second or third day. And sometimes I found too in the wilderness that my head would get such a beautiful place after about 3 days. I really recognized the 3 day phenomenon. Wow. I'm telling you. Well, I got a lot more drug stories. Um, I'd like to say they're all from my earlier days, but they're not really. But define drug, you know? I'm sorry, marijuana's not a drug. It's just a plant, and no more than it's a cayenne pepper drug or something. In my opinion, it's a plant ally. Um, and the same with mushrooms. I mean, people have been eating mushrooms for God knows how long. As long as there's been anything, even free people, they probably eat them. Um, if not on purpose, then by mistake, occasionally. And there's many cultures, you read about all this, there's evidence that they've been aware of mushrooms for many, many years. It doesn't, you wouldn't think that they were lauding the virtues of the edible mushroom to go with their steaks, right? Cooked in butter. So it was, one of the guys that has a mushroom business which sells like those spores. He said, they're not really illegal. Back up. No, I mean they're actually illegal because they have no psilocybin in them. They just have instructions to create it. So that was the deal. But he said he found the I call it the pink buffalo strain, and there's supposedly this pink buffalo, and he was in I think it was Tibet, and he was deep in the mountains and found this monastery that, because he went there because people told him, well, they have like a pink buffalo, and he's like, okay. So he gets there and they're very cool and he's staying, and the guy takes him out into the big courtyard where they have this pink buffalo. He said it's a very, very big courtyard with grass and trees there, and he walked a little ways and he came pointed down, and damn, there wasn't like a little bit of a pink tinge to this perfectly psilocybin looking kind of a cubensis psilocybin looking mushroom that's growing right out of the dung, the pink dung. And not that the dung was pink, but it's from like the pink buffalo, And the monk looked at him at that time and said, monks here at this monastery, which has been here for many thousands of years, they have been using these mushrooms to help with their enlightenment for forever, all of that time. He said they do even today. So there you go. Thank you, magic mushrooms. Changed my life. It changed everything. That 2007 and then 2012. That was like that woke me up, I guess I want to say, or cracked me open. I went from being an atheist to like, okay, I get it. I get it. I'm not exactly a Christian, but I understand, the thing I am. So, there you go. I'll leave it at that one. Think about doing another one. The others are actually a lot longer than this, believe it or not.